Thank you, Daniel. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for staying. So, I'm 30, but I really like to tell people I'm 29. Not because I have a problem with aging. I'm just incredibly obsessed with prime numbers. Yeah. There's a coffee shop in town I like to go to religiously. You see, I don't really believe in their product, but I keep going out of a sense of habit and guilt. One of them doing when I'm there is I really like to read a lot, and one of the books I picked up, well, everybody's talking about 50 Shades of Grey, and so erotic literature is getting, a little more respect now. Some people are checking it. So I actually started this one erotic novel you may not have heard of. It's about a young man who falls in love with and has a very torrid, very kinky love affair with a female accountant. It's entitled, She Had the Tightest Budget in Town. But I don't just like to, just read sexual things. I also like to read, it's cool. I like to, try to expand my mind. I actually read a book recently about the mating habits of existential insects. It's called Being and Nothingness. But philosophy just, it isn't just in books in the world, it's also where you go. I actually discovered in New Brunswick, there's actually a philosophically inspired grocery store. Yeah, they have a lot of cool products. They have also an existential brand of milk, Why Are We Here? And probably my favorite product they have is they actually have a pet food for philosophers. It's called Schrodinger's cat food. It both is and isn't what a cat wants. It's probably one of the things when I'm watching the news that I've seen recently is the shootout last weekend among all the biker gangs in Waco, Texas. Now what amazed me was it was a shootout in Waco, Texas. Waco, not New York, not Chicago, not Philly, not LA, not Seattle, Washington, but Waco, Texas. Like, these biker gangs are really obsessed with their turf, but it's turf that nobody really cares about except biker gangs. Like, hey, I want all y'all to listen up. From now on, the Cobras are the only biker club in Moose Balls, Montana. We're expanding. We got our chapter going in White-Ass, Wyoming last year. We're trying to go global with this brand. But what amazed me was these were biker gangs. These were 5 separate groups made of men, many of whom had criminal records and been associated with drug and human trafficking, who were known to be well-armed, were going to have a meeting in a public place. And the police's response is, well, we tried to tell the owner. I mean, what can we do? We're only cops. It's like, did you try to tell the patrons at any point? Maybe just, stop people beforehand, hey, there's probably going to be a shootout at that restaurant. You might want to, go to Denny's today. But it was just amazing to me that they're just that it seems just discrepancy of what happens, that it's okay, so about 200 armed white guys went to a place, many of whom it was well known didn't like each other, and they sent one patrol car to stop it. However, if you're a person of color going to say, hey, maybe we should organize to get more fresh fruit in the town. Yeah, we're going to have to call the SWAT team. We got these new missiles in from Germany. Apparently you can just, fire them up in the air and they kill 10 people. We all need those for some reason. But, it's not all just news that's really depressing you try to watch. I try to watch some shows, but there's a lot of shows that I guess are made for entertainment, but I probably get a different level of entertainment from them. Probably the one I've seen most recently is Naked and Afraid. I don't know if any of you have seen this reality show. They're basically hey, what would be more fun than Survivor? What if we did it and they had no clothes and it was a couple who had, relationship issues beforehand and we just put them in a swamp? And then believe it or not, everybody's really angry within a day. Because, they're in a swamp. I don't understand the need of people who've, lived a life of comfort that they believe, oh, suffering is enlightenment. No, it really isn't. Ask the people in Nepal who just lost their house because the entire country decided to have an earthquake. Ask them how, close to nature they feel. Ask, peasant farmers in India who don't have electricity and running water, how divine and how much they know about themselves. It always just seems like a lot of people want to like have an experience without understanding what the real experience means. Probably the other thing I've seen this is, have any of you heard of the paleo diet? That's kind of the popular one. If you say you're on the paleo diet, the only thing you have proven to me is you have a very poor concept of what the word Paleolithic actually means. It doesn't mean just things you like to eat. It means before farming. This is what these people claim they want to get back to. They're like, yeah, we're going to live on a paleo diet. We're going to live like ancient man, like the caveman. You know, the average caveman died at like 20, usually from malnutrition. Basically, it's people, the reason we don't live a certain way like we did in the past is because as society, we decided those ways sucked and built something that we feel is better. Pretty much everybody who was living before electricity is like, fuck man, it's 8 o'clock and we can't see anything now. If only there was some magic way, by harnessing the power of nature, that we could see things at night. Well, it's 14:30, so we're fucked. What do you think about that, like the past, and when people wanted to do that? Have any of you ever seen the show True Detective?
Yeah.
So it aired last year, and it's just like, it's kind of a weird show because they kind of have a mystery, they sort of solve, sort of don't, and there's like a lot of philosophy and metaphysics in this show. But there's like a badass scene where two of the cops are finally going, and they got one guy cornered. And it's like a really bad guy that knows killed a bunch of people. And they're like, what do you got to say? And he just looks at them, and this guy's been cooking meth for 3 days before this, and just looks at them and he goes, time is a flat circle. Which admittedly is one of the most badass things you could probably say. Like if someone's just like, you just want to mess with someone, could I see your license and ID please, Mr. Barron? Time is a flat circle. What? Here you go, officer. But the thing is that it actually means something, which is pretty interesting. It's basically, some people believe that time is just this giant recurrence, and instead of nothing good or bad is happening, you just happen to be stuck in a bad moment. So like the good moments are over here and in the past and in the future, but you're just stuck in a really crappy moment. This is what some people think. Some other people also think time doesn't exist. And I've spent several days reading about this now, how time doesn't exist. And some people would say, oh no man, time has to exist. I'm like, well think about it. Time had to be invented at some point. Everything we think we had to be invented at one point. Even thinking. That's basically seeing what Socrates was doing. He's just like, hey, instead of just trusting things, what if we sat and talked about them and came up with a new idea? So man also had to come up with time at some point. It wasn't even man, maybe it was a woman. We don't know ancient world, there's no records. Very easily could have been a woman. But imagine how difficult it must have been that first speech. The first woman, she discovered time. She's just like, oh my God, we have time! Oh, well, she couldn't say, oh my God. Maybe, we don't know if they had God yet, but... So it's basically just, oh my things, we have time! Thank goodness we invented things a few weeks ago. But she has time. And so, but imagine that first speech. It's like, okay, everybody, I want to tell you about time. What's time? Well, it's what used to happen and what's gonna happen. What's used to? What's gonna? And I think this also leads to one question for me. If we have time, when time was first created, which came first? Somebody early or somebody late? Like, there had to be a day before time came into effect when they were telling people about time. And there was somebody who was just like jonesing for time. Time is awesome! I can't wait till time gets started. This guy was so excited of time, it made his clock go off. But time. But then there were some people who were just like, you can take your time and shove it. Time? I don't want no time. When things happen, this is when they happen. Well, I guess my time, if it exists, is now up, so I hope you all enjoy the rest of your evening.